This meeting is being recorded.
Morning, ma'am.
Any questions from yesterday? Anything anyone wants to share? No questions?
No, ma'am.
Cool. All right. Today we'll look at the predominant learning method for children in the second stage of development. Steiner has given us 7-year cycles, 7-year developmental cycles. That's our whole life, actually. However, since birth till about age 7, till about children lose their first teeth. It is not exact 7th birthday plus minus 6 months. Till the child naturally loses their teeth is considered the first stage of development, where predominantly learning is through imitation. And the growth is of the physical body. The physical body is settling down, the bones are fusing, hardening, elongating, growing, we are getting into a proportion in the first stage of development. So we need to give a lots of movement activities in the first stage of development. Of course, they're learning lots of things. However, maybe not from the books, maybe not writing things down that I have learned. In fact, teaching them the way we do these days is kind of detrimental, and it has a long-term impact if we do the way we are doing right now. And that's why we see when children are in their 8th, 9th, 10th grades, they kind of have lost interest. In fact, by 2nd grade, children have lost interest in writing. And slowly, I mean, they could say something verbally, but they're not really interested. And with the internet age, with the mobile addiction stuff, children have kind of lost interest in learning altogether. Of course, they're learning a lot of different things, though. The second stage is when the teeth falls out and life forces are now available for child's further development. The next faculty is emotional development. So the physical body is in some shape now. Next is going to be the development of their emotional body. This is where children go through lots of confusions, especially now that their body is in shape. They are able to do many things, dress themselves, eat by themselves, even like help us out in the household work. Somewhere adults forget that they're still children, and we start treating these children as grown-ups sometimes. Their brain development, goes on. I mean, latest research is telling that there is neuroplasticity, and the brain development happens throughout the lifetime. So I could be working on acquiring a new skill even now. And acquiring a new skill or a new habit is developing the brain neural connections, and it'll change to some degree the shape of the brain. So brain is constantly can be modified. that has not happened yet. The synapses in the brain has not happened yet in a 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old. They are beginning to happen based on all the life experiences they get and all the exposure we create and all the kinds of movements we have done in the first stage of development. It's developing. The brain is developing. So they're not there intellectually yet, which means they cannot take our instructions. They cannot take series of instructions. They cannot remember the instructions we give them unless we have created a rhythm, unless we have created a system in which these children, we are creating the memories for them. So when we repeat certain things every single day the same way, they will develop a memory for it. They will retain it. But we don't do that, especially in school setup. We have like 40-minute periods every day, and we really don't have time to repeat the concepts. So we finish, and maybe we do revision just before exams. That's it. We have never created a rhythmic system in which the memory has to be created. That's why we see children not able to remember, and there's so much of clutter in the brain that they don't know what to recall and what to retain. Whatever they know is also lost. And because of that process, children lose confidence. You could see many children, just before 10th board exam, they're like, oh my God, I don't remember. I've studied everything, but I cannot remember. I cannot recall. There's so much of retrieval process is at stake at that point of time, because of the way we are doing things. Because the emotions are at stake, and also around age 9, 10, there is adolescence that kicks in. And there's hormones that are being released, developmental hormones, gender-related hormones. So children naturally go into another state of confusion, because they're infatuated, they have natural attractions towards the opposite gender, their bodies are changing differently. They cannot share it with anybody, nobody understands. Lot of emotional turmoil. So typically you see grade 4 is around 9th year of the child, there is a crisis, and someone who is doing like very well per se begins to kind of fall apart. And there is another crisis, 12th year crisis, that is pre-adolescence. And these crises continue. I mean, they're not like crises, they're just part of growing up. And unless we adults understand and appropriately create an environment for the child where it is safely expressed, children will interpret that as their deficiency. It is their problem. And we also confirm that, because suddenly the child was doing very good and now in 4th grade is not doing very well, and we start complaining, bombarding him with go for tuitions and do this and do that. And child's confused. They just are unable to handle it. And that is how it will come out as behavioral issues. The behavioral issues, the indiscipline, whatever begins in 4th grade, continues later on, because none of them are really getting addressed. It is like, like I am soaked, for example, and then instead of changing my clothes and getting, or forget changing, even if I sit with my wet clothes under a fan or something, it may dry, but no, we'll put another layer of wet cloth on me, another layer of wet cloth on me. So there's never an opportunity for the child to ever feel dry and comfortable. There's layer after layer after layer that we keep adding expectations and demands and accusations and comparisons, that the child literally kind of succumbs under that, under those conditions. What can be done? At least, I mean, majority education system we cannot change. Parent mentality is hard to change. But at least if I as a teacher, if I as a parent with my children, if I can be there for the child, because children here learn, especially in the second stage of development, where there's a lot of emotional roller coaster experiences they're having, children learn through imagination. You can see them daydreaming because of the hormones, whatever, they kind of get lost into their own stuff. I mean, we have two kinds. One, the extroverts kind will go and create tantrums, and the introvert kind will withdraw and they will start getting lost in their own little world, predominantly daydream. But the same thing, if I can use this natural ability for the child to daydream into teaching method, where we start teaching through imagination. We offer the art integrated lessons. Typically, anything to do with emotions, when you're very sad, when you're very upset, you would like to sing a song, or you want to go do the gardening, or you want to go for a walk, a jog, or you can just sit at home and knit or go and cook. You do something other than intellectual activity. Whether it's reading, debating, discussing, you're not in a mood for that at all. But somewhere being in the nature, developing that kind of a hobby for yourself is very soothing. So the artistic kind of activities is an antidote for emotional upheavals. So in the second stage of development, beginning around first or second grade, going till about 8th grade, if we could do art integrated teaching, give a sample case and let them imagine, thinking in pictures is what Steiner calls. So if you can, and many of us do that, if we have to focus, we just close our eyes and only listen. And closing eyes is about stopping all the external inputs and distractions that I may be getting. So automatically I get into a flow when I close my eyes. Otherwise, I'm so distracted, right? And when I'm in the flow, I'm ready to imagine. So if you say, especially all the language, even science, math teachers, close your eyes and we just go through a story. Newton's law, for example, there was this person always wondering about how things dropped to the earth. And he could see birds and he wondered why they're not dropping to the earth. But somewhere he observed that birds eventually come down and settle on them. And he could throw things up in the air and it would drop. But he was wondering about how leaves are hanging up on the trees. So he was always thinking, observing, imagining, and wondering what could be this phenomenon? What could be happening? He tried jumping on his own. He landed on the earth. So you go on describing, finally come down to this where apple fell on his tree, and then he came up with this to be the property of the earth, and he called it gravitation, and so on. So that way you're engaging children in this whole process, not just about Newton's law, which we are very eager to teach children, but the reason why it happened, the reason how it evolved, and the way you can also go a little further, not less limited to what is in the textbook about stating the law, but how it has helped and how there are spots on Earth which defy gravity, and what happens in a space where there is zero gravity. Why is there lesser amount of gravity on the moon compared to on the Earth? This is something that even we become curious when we want to tell this. And children are just listening, and then you tell them, whatever you understood, whatever you feel like, just draw a picture. Rather than write question answers or definitions, just draw a picture. And they will draw whatever that has stuck, that has attracted them, that is changing their personality. Whatever they have understood is what is helping them change their inner being. That is evolution of the human being. So once they write it out, draw it out, then you can say, describe about it. Tell what is it? Why did you draw that particular picture? And they will have their own explanation. They may have, the child may never have seen an apple tree, so he'll talk about a coconut tree, and the child may not have jumped, but he may have seen someone throw something from second floor. So whatever it is their experience, they're relating it, they're connecting the dots, which is perfectly fine. So our way of assessment is so detrimental because we do not allow children to express at all. We do not want to see what a child is capable of. We want to know, we want them to learn what we think is right and vomit it out. And this not only shatters the child's confidence, it also hampers their growth. We are so fearful, we do not want to participate. Even now, if we are with a group of similar aged or people who we think are more intelligent than us, we will not open up, we will not share, we will not participate. Somewhere there is this withdrawal, this, you feel you are like suffocating within you, being unable to express yourself. That's exactly what we are doing with children. So now you have them do their art activity, you have them describe whatever it is, and everybody is correct. There's nobody who is wrong. Because we are beings in the process of becoming. I'm not complete. I have many lacunae even now, but if I can identify it, if I can work on it, then I may be a little better tomorrow. Then I'm a process in the becoming of who I'm destined to become, my ultimate goal, my ultimate purpose in life. So it is like looking at a sapling and it's growing. Does the growing ever end for a tree? Oh no, it grows tall, it goes deep. There is nothing that is stopping unless we prune them, cut them, because they are touching the electric wire, cut them out. I may not, I'm not probably going to, I'm sorry, I lost track, but yeah, we should not be pruning. We should not be stopping. We should be allowing children to express their ideas. It may not be the right, the best. I mean, again, parents will come and fight with us that you have not given us question answers. Somewhere we have to start making that shift because children are not learning anyways. I mean, there may be a few children who appear to be learning, who are the toppers. Now go and check the toppers in 10th grade and ask them some simple applications, or how do they feel about this phenomena? Do they think it is right? If they were given the opportunity, how would they change it? And you will see them being stuck. They have parroted, memorized the answers. Any of those rote memorization where there is understanding has to be involved, we are pruning the human being. Memorizing of the chants, the tables, anything that is rhythmic is fine, because that's like a music. And that's why you see even children make memorizing of question answers musical, because something has to interest them. Even good morning teacher, that also has become like a sing-along. The conversations gets converted to that, so children will be able to remember. And again, it's temporary, because they are doing it for temporary. So bringing back that element of imagination that is so naturally in us, allowing children to observe things outside in the nature. I mean, everything is outside. The great poets get inspiration from nature. They look at a rock that is out of shape and they're inspired to write a poem. So the inspiration is from the nature. You could do math. I mean, nature is filled with patterns, colors, shapes. How old is the tree? Count the number of rings. Of course, we don't have to chop down a tree, but there are many trees that are chopped down that we can count. And all of this, concentric circles on a tree trunk, you imagine, and there is math in it. Every daily transactions is nothing but math. And social sciences is all about the history of Earth, history of human beings, history of the kingdoms. So again, there are stories, and we have to become excellent storytellers. I need to start enjoying telling the story, because I become part of it, and children become part of it. And children imagination go wild and crazy when you're telling Shivaji lost because of his whatever skill, whatever situation that came up. Now you leave them up with that. They imagine it further. Shivaji could have done this and he could have done that, and he should have asked people for help. And that's a lesson for them. Something that Shivaji did not do, and now they can do it in their imaginary world, becomes a lesson for me as to how to be, to face situations in my life growing up. And you will see anyone who has solutions for any situation, has a good network, has a good connection with people, has good ability to talk and negotiate, are very confident people. And the ones who we are sitting and thinking, oh, I'm not capable enough, somebody is better than me, they speak better than me, I don't know this, I don't know that, though we are capable, just because we have born as a human being, I definitely have that potential, I withdraw. I'm stunted. The imagination is the tool. Any subject, you can do this. And right now, with the current system, current situation where question answers are the predominant and parents are complaining, parents panic if you don't give them, etc., etc., I would suggest you do 25% of your class that is in accordance with the child's development. The rest 75% you go on the way it is, though you may not like it. But then you tell the children, you know what, I will do it another way, provided we also catch up in the way we know or our parents know. And children, trust me, will become faster, quicker because you're doing something that they're naturally aligned with. It's like telling, why is PE period popular? They are never bored being outside. Being in the classroom is constraining. They can run their imagination. They can come up with lots of different things when they're outside in the open air. They do not feel the restriction there. Though the PE teacher could be very strict. But being out there in the open is like communicating in the open space, which is a natural habitat for a child to develop and grow. So if you can pull them out, if you can even sit in the class and have some movements, have some snaps and claps, so children will associate words with those actions and remember things not by force but naturally, which we do have ability. Most of us, 99% of us, only not even 1%, a fraction of a percent, people have some disabilities that they cannot retain, that they're unable to remember and process. There's some maybe some physical birth defects or some wiring issues in our network. But other than that, most of us are capable. We are not just using it properly. We are not creating proper connections between the neurons. We are not giving proper experiences for children to even attempt or even want to make those neural connections. So the side effect is we slowly lose the ability to even imagine. We slowly lose the ability to think. So if we don't do things properly, by about 9 years of age, things become very difficult to reverse, backtrack, come back to where, the child could have been molded properly. It's like this raw milk, you get the milk delivered. It can sit without boiling, without processing it properly for maybe an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, maybe 6 hours also. But beyond that, if you don't heat it, it is going to change and you cannot bring it back. In some cases, situation is as difficult as that. But us being human beings, us having the consciousness, us having that inherent ability to recover with personal attention, with personal support, a child can revive slowly. And if we as teachers in the classroom, if we as parents at home pay attention to understanding in pictures, understanding through imagination, through consequences, through advantages, through real lifetime stories. Because remember, these children are developing emotionally. They connect with the stories. Through biographies, you sit and read the biography of any person. It could be their own parents, it could be us as teachers, the grandparents. Somebody has worked so hard, and somewhere there is this dawn of understanding. For example, I was talking with my son one time, and he was like mentioning, oh, I wish my grandfather was here because he would have enjoyed listening to everything I'm doing at my work right now. And then we went back, how our life was more difficult, or we couldn't really do what we wanted to do because we had to provide for the family. So our children were better. And how my parents had much harder life. They had to struggle even to get food on the table. And how their parents had much, much harder life. They had to leave town and go elsewhere just to ensure that the family stayed afloat. So we ended up talking how each generation is sacrificing for their next generation, and how I'm not proud that I'm this engineer now working for this company and making these cool things, but I need to be grateful for my great 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 grandfathers. Because of them, I am who I am today. This processing just happened in his head. I would never be thankful. I would still be blaming my parents for not having sent for this course or that course. So somewhere that connection happens, that connection through stories. Our own stories, stories of our families, stories of heritage. This has to be part of our daily conversations with our children. So the stories are going to help a lot. So if you can make storytelling as part of your classroom rhythm, maybe first 2 minutes every single day, only 2 minutes, that's more than enough for children to get aligned. And then give them artistic activities where their imaginations can run wild and they can interconnect, interlink, put puzzles together, pieces together, and come up with their own understanding, which is very unique, to express themselves and reduce unnecessary intellectual information. We will be doing a great justice to the children, and we will also be enjoying the process of parenting or teaching. That's it from me today. We have 7 more minutes if you want to clarify anything. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Ma'am, you said the adolescence hits in at this age. Can you just tell me about it? Because adolescent is far more further than this age.
Well, see, our bodies are developing, they're growing, they're influenced by external, especially now. Adolescence is beginning around 7, 8 years of age these days. You must have heard the stories where girls hit their puberty when they're 9. We have stories of girls being pregnant when they're around 9 or 10. And there's a lot of external influences. The hormones that are used to grow the food are having detrimental effect on our bodies. So the crisis begins around age 9. And it only continues because the body is responding to the external situations. Because I'm part of the ecosystem, I am going to be affected. And even we have those systems. We are losing hair like crazy because of either shampoo or water, whatever we call it. The health, every which way you can imagine that we are subjected to in this present age and time. So early awakening is what Steiner calls it. Early awakening to what should have been natural. Children start watching movies that have scenes when they're like much, much earlier than they should be watching it. So they become curiosity. That aggravates the situation. So Yeah, though the hormones, begin to be formed, begin to be released in different doses at different ages. Pre-adolescence kicks in around 9 years of age, goes on for about 3 years, and 12 year onwards, it's the adolescent that comes into picture. Around 14 years is when the girls must attain puberty, and around 16 years when the boys hit that. So the second stage is filled with these changes. Does that make sense, Papa?
Yes, ma'am. And also about the brain development, the recent studies, what you
Hmm.
told me.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So,
so, yeah, yes, ma'am.
yeah, what was your second part of the question?
Like as we know, the neural connections, all that happens during the first years, first
Hmm.
5 years of life is what we have been studying all these years.
Hmm.
The brain development happens.
Hmm.
So I'm not aware about this recent study of the brain.
Oh,
As you told me the
yeah.
example, I got the example, but is that really the brain development or is it something additionally added to it?
The brain doesn't actually become big. What happens within the brain is this. I mean, again, research has shown that we are born with some trillion neurons. They're all individually placed in the brain, and the brain functions only when they connect. There is this neural firing, and they call it a synapse, connection between neurons. And once I, like for example, I begin to like um, communicate a certain way. Let's say negotiate. That's a new skill. I don't know how to negotiate, but then I'm exposed to it. Somebody teaches me. I watch a video. I talk about it. I practice it. So I do a lot of these small negotiations with my family, with my friend, with somebody outside, then with a company. When repeatedly I'm doing negotiation, this is experience A. I do certain things that leads to an outcome B. So then from point A to point B, from the stimulus that I get to the practices that I do and the outcome I achieve, there is a path that gets established. And the more and more I do that, the stronger and stronger the connection becomes. It's called myelination. And the stronger the myelination, the stronger the habit, the stronger the confidence. Now, at some point, you'll see very established people tell you do this, you will get this result. It is just as sure as selling 2 plus 2 is 4. Of course, there could be human elements, aberrations, whatever, but that's why we go to the doctors, we go to experienced people, experienced engineers to build our house or whatever, because they have developed this. They look at the soil and they'll say, oh, I will have to dig 10 feet deep. And if I go there, I have absolutely no idea. But I definitely can become an engineer even at this age of time because I have the ability to make those neural connections by repetitive habits, repetitive action. So repetition is also considered one of the greatest teaching tool in our classrooms because we are helping establish these neural connections. And we say brain is developing when more of these myelination synapses are formed. That's how you see you can change the structure of the brain, the way it is connected by developing these new habits by repetition. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.